Hey guys, welcome to Bean Soldier TV. Just kind of a little bit of a disclaimer before we go and get started. I've never really done a discussion video like this, so I'm just curious, once you're done watching, if you could leave some feedback down in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially on this type of content, since we're not really doing sealed only anymore. But I guess the topic of the video, does Yu-Gi-Oh! Have skill? And I guess I really got the idea to talk about this because I was scrolling through an APS poll comment section and I stumbled upon some absolute gold that I wanted to talk about. And personally, I can't believe that there are still people out there that say that there isn't any skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! There was one comment in particular that I guess kind of triggered me the most. And gave me the inspiration to talk about this. I'm gonna go ahead and blur their name out for their own YouTube identity's sake. But the comment reads as follows. To be honest, having the best cards and watching a couple how-to combo guides does indeed make you the best player. If I give the current world champion the fire structure deck from years ago, and I play Rockets with only watching 2 combo videos, I would utterly wipe him out. It's a card game. The only skill is being lucky and drawing an out or your combo pieces. There is no skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that anyone that plays competitively already sees everything wrong with this comment, and I don't see why there's so many people out there that have this mindset. In a game that is arguably, I would say one of the more complex ones out of all the major trading card games like MTG, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! For whatever reason, gets the most scrutiny for being the lowest skilled. And like, maybe that's just the fact that I follow Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot more than the other trading card games. That I notice it more, I guess, than I do with like Magic the Gathering. Again, like the ones that we had already spoken about earlier. But I just want to point out some of like my few major points that make me believe that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Incredibly skillful. And those include the fact that a lot of people claim that like the combo tutorials, it's like, oh, I just memorized a combo tutorial, I automatically know how to beat every single one of my opponents. That's one thing I want to talk about. 2, like knowing all the decks and knowing your opponent's deck. And then 3, talking about deck building as well. So I guess like to kind of start things off, combo tutorials don't teach you nearly anything, in my own opinion. Like, sure, they teach you how to make opening boards with like one specific card or 2 card combos, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying that combo videos aren't like worth something. They can show you like the overall power of a deck with its opening boards, ceilings, consistencies, so on and so forth. But a combo tutorial doesn't show you how to play past turn 1, and I would argue that a majority of games go way past turn 1. Like for example, like Striker Orchest, whenever that was a thing, those games took a while. There was a grind aspect to those games. And to say just having the best cards and watching a couple how-to combo guides just make you an automatically better player, just, it's not true. And I guess to like even like go further beyond the video, like it took someone with a brain to make that combo video. I would argue like the people that make the combo videos and stuff, like we borrow from them. Those people that make those are incredibly skillful. Like, and I have no shame in borrowing or net decking and adjusting things. Like I cannot come up with all the fancy combos that these insane players do. I borrow and I adapt. But to say that watching someone else's combo guide makes you personally the best player in the room is not correct. On top of knowing your own deck though, whether it be like watching the combo tutorials or learning on your own, knowing your opponent's deck is also part of the skill of the game. If I were to go against a Salamangreat player, I know exactly what to hit, what the hand traps are in the deck, where the weak points are, etc. And like the same goes for every opponent that you go against. Knowing your opponent's deck better than your own is part of the skill of the game. And if you want to get better than that, get better at that particular skill, like I highly suggest watching other content creators, or like watching Twitch streamers like Farfa, Distant Coder, Nimno, House of Champs, like the list goes on and on. Like they play so many games on their streams. You learn rulings, you learn what not to do in some occasions, you learn what rogue decks do, just by watching them play. Like you start to understand the ins and outs of every other deck, rather than just your own. Because like it's one thing to know your deck in and out, which you should know, and that's part of the skill of the game. But like knowing exactly what to negate, what to hand trap, like you knowing what choke points in your opponent's deck are, is again part of the skill of the game. So how much you immerse yourself in the game greatly determines your overall knowledge and skill. I remember back at a regional in December, pre-lockdown, one of my friends and I play tested for God knows how long. And we decided to make a specific meta call for going second Orcus Striker. And those Orcus is my favorite deck. By far, my favorite deck of all time. And I remember that we made the meta call to main deck Nibiru, which at the time was not like a main deck staple. It was a good side deck tech. But that specific call got my friend his Nats invite at that regional. And Nibiru came in clutch from in his final match for him to make it into top cut and get his invite. So we looked at all the decks. Orcus Striker was like the thing, followed by Salad, and like all these other decks that like Nibiru could just smack. And again, ultimately Nibiru came in clutch for him, especially in a going second striker deck. Like knowing what's going on and what other people are going to be playing is a great skill to have. And if you're just gonna net deck from someone, you're probably gonna be behind the curve anyway. Like there's skill in looking ahead in the game. So moving ahead to I guess our third topic is the topic of deck building. And if you don't take the time to play test, mathematically tune your deck to give yourself the best odds, I would argue you're not a skillful player. And now granted, people have more time than others to play test, so on and so forth, or if you don't have the access to play test, like I can't fault you for that. I'm not going to say you're a less skillful player, you're just a less experienced player. But you can't just throw a deck together in 5 minutes and expect to win an event. Sure, you might be able to win a locals like that, depending on the skill of your locals. Like I know like our locals is insane. Insanely difficult. We have a bunch of different people that have like YCS tops and regional tops, and it's stressful as all heck. I know Nim goes to one of my locals as well. So like it's rough. It's really rough. But I would think like the average locals, you might be able to win with that if you're a really, really good player and you have a really solid deck. But for any larger event than that, you're not going to have a chance by just throwing a deck together in 5 minutes. The people that consistently top and win event after event are those that put in the time, the thought, and the right decisions into their deck. They innovate, not replicate. They predict rather than react. And I think this is also especially true in like side deck options. I would argue that isn't so true today in the current meta, just because like side decking's pretty solved as far as cards like Dark Roller, Evenly, Lightning Storm, all being basically required at this point. But like prior to that, you have like prior to the limiting of like Pankratops, Mind Control, Red Reboot, there were so many side deck options. And like shout out to the people that like got a pointer of the Red Lotus to see playing again, or the people that discovered Artifact Lancia as like the most overpowered hand trap in Orcus format. Like the people that go out of their way to solve a format with their deck building and side decking, like that takes so much skill to like look at a card and like see what it does and then see if it actually has the capabilities of holding up with the meta and like making a good meta call. So like I would argue that like deck building, like your side deck and your main deck, it's one of like the biggest skills in the game. And as far as Yu-Gi-Oh goes, like your deck building is probably one of the most important skillful things you can do compared to other. So, and I know personally, like in that department, that's where I need to spend my most time, because like my deck building needs work for sure. Yes, Bean Soldier is calling himself out for sucking. I know. I'm a non-skillful player. It's fine. But that's the point about this whole thing, though. Now that I think about it, because so many people think that they are the shit when it comes to this game. When in reality, they don't really have like a concept of the intricacies of the game that they claim has no skill. It reminds me a lot of a topic that I learned in college. It was something around the lines of like those that have a ton of knowledge tend to be more confident in what that they say and do because they don't know that they're wrong, or that they might be wrong. Whereas someone that knows a lot more might be a little bit more nervous about their information, because they know that there's so much more beyond what they already know. It leads me to like a really great quote. Like you don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know. I'll say that one more time just for, I know it's a rough sentence. You don't know what you don't know until you know that you don't know. And look, like I understand that there's luck involved in this game. It's a card game. Like you can't control every single card that you draw, because that would be impossible, and you'd be cheating for stacking the deck. But with that being said, your skill can greatly change your odds for how many games that you do win. Your skill determines your chances of beating your opponent. It increases the chance of seeing the cards that you need to see and learning every single minute detail about the game. Your skill turns your dead hands into playable. So overall, I mean, again, I could argue all day that Yu-Gi-Oh takes skill, and like I'm still learning. I have a very long way to go before I become like the next YCS champion or the next nationals champion or going to worlds. It's just not gonna happen, at least not yet. But again, Yu-Gi-Oh takes skill. There's a reason that the same people get top after top after top. They know what they're doing. They know it very well.